Hi everyone, welcome to episode 4. I'm Dr. Amir Karam, and I am going to talk about the makings of a facial plastic surgeon, my personal journey through the process. We're going to start with what got me to become interested in surgery and medicine in the first place, and then we'll go into discussing the development and specifics about why facial plastic surgery. And then finally, we'll end on the development of a surgical practice in San Diego and all the things that led to it. So it's an interesting twisting and turning type of a journey that only you can really make sense of looking back on your life and all the different things that led to this. But we'll kind of walk through it together. I hope you'll find it interesting. So stay tuned. So in this episode, we are going to discuss the events that led me to the decision to go into medicine. So let me back up really far back, and I'll kind of take you to some very important things that had everything to do with my particular decision to go into this field. So basically, I was a single child, born to a mom who got literally diagnosed for the first time with a congenital heart defect during labor. So if you can imagine that. So she's healthy her whole life, and she and my dad were planning on having many children. And during a difficult sort of taxing labor process, it became clear that she had some weakness in her heart. And after the delivery, they went and did a variety of different tests, and they diagnosed her with a congenital heart deformity. And what was important about that is, and especially being an only child, number one, that killed the decision to have any more children, because the doctor said that this would make her condition worse and it would be unclear whether she could even get through another delivery. But what was really important was, as a single child, I was naturally very close to my mom, and I really became an intimate part of her health process. Now, I don't know if that's partly because intrinsically I always found it interesting, or just by the nature that I was exposed to it so much that I became interested in it. Whatever happened, it ultimately led to me being, accompanying her to basically every one of her doctor's appointments and listening to the doctors interact with her. And what really I remember very clearly during this entire time is the huge impact that a doctor made in an individual's life, not just because of what they did, but so much of it's just because of what they said and the bedside manner that was associated. And what I mean by that specifically is, when you have a heart condition, you have difficulty breathing, you walk a little bit, you get tired, etc. You don't know if this is going to progress rapidly and this is, you're going to basically die, in a month or a week or a year. You have no idea when you're actually going through it as a patient suffering from heart disease. But what's amazing is when she would go into these visits, and some doctors were better than others, but the way they would interact with her and breathe hope back into her, it was insane. She would literally almost not be able to make it into the office, and then she would be almost like running out of the office. She would have the psychological impact that a good doctor would make by how they would handle her condition. So what became clear to me is that the field of medicine is incredible in terms of what it can do to help individuals, and that was very, very important to me. And just the science of it was also very interesting as well. But fast forward now, we get into the middle of high school and towards the end of high school, and you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. And it's interesting because I knew that I was always very interested in the field, and I knew that would probably be the most rewarding field to go into. But at the same time, we all know how difficult medicine is, and we all know how challenging it is not only to get into med school, but also get through med school and in residency, and you go through a process that takes 10 to 15 years, and you're in your mid-30s and you're finally practicing. It's a major decision, and I tried my hardest to find other fields that could capture my interest, and I couldn't. But at the same time, I didn't have the courage to make that leap. Now, my mom's condition continued to deteriorate as time went on, somebody from her cardiology division sent her for a referral to UCSD, where they had just started a new heart transplant program with this leading surgeon who had developed heart and lung transplants in Stanford and other academic institutions, and they just recruited him to come to UCSD, and we got the referral to come out to UCSD where we live and meet this surgeon and get evaluated for this life-saving procedure. And fortunately for her, she made it to the transplant list, and a year went by, a year and a half went by, and her condition continued to deteriorate to the point where it really felt like at any moment she wasn't going to make it to the next day. She was blue, discolored, etc. That was what it looked like the end of the road. That very night, we got a call from the transplant division that they had a heart available. So we excitedly grabbed our stuff, went in for this transplant. They escorted her into the operating room. 4 hours later, she went in as this blue, low oxygen type of a discolored skin, and comes out 4 hours later, literally pink and full of life. And I remember being in that very moment, and it was over. That was it for me. I decided that 100% was my calling, and all of these events that led to this point manifested in the decision that I should go on and do this for other people. So I decided I wanted to become a heart surgeon. And what was beautiful about that was that I was in San Diego where this particular surgeon was, and he really took me under his wings, and I expressed my interest to go into medicine, and he opened his doors to his clinical as well as laboratory environments, and I started working with him for the 4 years that I was at UCSD. And what was amazing was the impact he made into my vision of what it meant to be a great surgeon. And this particular doctor, he was, an innovator. He was a leader in the field. He developed surgeries. He wrote research papers. He did experiments. He wrote books. He was what you might think of as the type of surgeon that is at the highest possible level in the field, and he was regarded as such. And that was the image of what I wanted to do for myself. And I think for all of us who are young, and for those of you who are medical students or undergraduates, it's so important to find a role model, somebody who's at that stage of their career that you can sort of model your career towards. And for me, that vision has never changed. It still exists today. I picture myself in that type of a way. I make sure my entire career developed in that direction, and the next step of the journey was basically medical school, which we'll talk about in the next segment, and how that process changed the overall direction of my career path, but also what I consider for the better. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, especially for those of you who are medical students and undergraduates. I know this is a confusing and difficult time, and I'd love to be able to help in any way I can. Thanks so much.